so let's bring this to order. This meeting was called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on February 3rd, 2025, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hpborough.com and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to the left or to the right of the chambers. Please speak into the microphones. And now let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Hand, Mr. Brusher, Mr. Chen,
Here.
Ms. Hadhazy,
Here.
Mr. Hale,
Here.
Mr. Ho,
Present.
Mr. Linares, Mr. Malay,
Here.
Mr. Perlman, Mr. Stern Cardinal,
Here.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Lynch,
Here.
Mr. Cosenza,
Here.
Mr. Koch.
Here. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the June 12th, 2025 regular meeting. Do I have any questions or comments?
Yes. I noticed that the minutes say that we provide notice to the Highland Park Planet on these minutes. Is that still in print?
I do not know.
On page 2, the advocacy organization about, I'm sorry, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines down. It should be the Fair Share Housing Center, not Fair Housing Center.
So it's in the middle of the sentence.
Yes.
And what was your correction?
Fair Share Housing Center.
Share. Okay.
I have a number of suggested paragraph breaks on this page and the next page for the many people who will read this in the future, so you can have a bit of an easier time reading. And near the bottom of the page on the left side, it says 25,000 people commuting into town. I think there's an extra zero there, especially if you reference the actual housing plan, page 27.
No, I would agree. So would you like to just probably be easier to email your paragraph suggestions?
I've got them marked. I can provide them to you after.
Okay, that'd be great. Does that work for you? Any other questions or comments or minutes? Your motion to adopt?
Second.
All those in favor? Or do we-
Aye.
Or-
Yes.
All right, roll call. All right.
Mr. Chen,
Aye.
Ms. Hadhazy,
Abstain.
Mr. Hale,
Yeah.
Mr. Ho,
Yes.
Mr. Linares, Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Stern Cardinal,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to switch the order here. We're going to begin with the hearing on new matters, the YFM LNN 810 North 2nd Avenue LLC. I think it's a subdivision, and since I think you all are here and people from the public are here, so I think that would be the best use of our time. And that's not how. So, do we have somebody making a proposal? So we're going to take up the matter, so whoever was making the application.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Warren Fink. I'm the attorney for the applicant of this matter. And Mr. Chairman and board members, my client's very proud to make this application before the board today. And it's also, it's a culmination
Oh,
of.
excuse me, Warren, could you just make use of the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Everything is
wasn't on.
recorded now.
Is that good? No? Is that recording?
Good.
It's
That's why they're talking microphone.
the green light's on.
Okay.
Okay, so start again for the record. So, Mr. Chairman and board members, my name is Warren Fink. I'm the attorney for the applicant of this matter. My client is very proud to bring this application before the board since it's the culmination of a cooperative effort with the borough over the course of many months. My client purchased this building at 810 North Second Avenue that was formerly used as a laboratory and is now seeking minor site plan approval to convert the building to a multifamily apartment building consisting of 4 units along with various improvements to the exterior area of the building. No variances are required or sought, and the application thanks the borough for having worked out a redevelopment plan for this property that was adopted by the borough and makes this application possible. Now that the basics are out of the way, I propose to call Brian Murphy, an engineer from FWB Associates, to provide more details, respond to comments by the borough professionals, and answer any questions. My client's architect is also here, Mr. Natali Gut Van Associates and Consultants, and he will also be available for any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you briefly provide your credentials?
Sure. Brian Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y, 1856 Route 9, Toms River. I'm a principal at FWH Associates. I've been practicing engineering for 30 some odd years now. I have not had the pleasure of being before your board, but I've been before roughly 100 other boards throughout the state, as well as accepted as a professional by the Superior Court as well. I'm a graduate of NJIT. I have a bachelor's in science and civil engineering.
All your licenses are current and up to date?
They are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As indicated, the application tonight is 810 North Second Avenue. It's block 503, lot 24.
Mike, you turn that so we can see it.
Maybe put it closer on an angle to the door. Yeah, like something like that.
I'm going to try to stand up and block it. So I'm indicating Exhibit A1 or Exhibit 1. I guess it will be Google Earth aerial shot of the property. Property is indicated in red, roughly in the center of the plan. To the north is kind of up. So to the north of Second Avenue, there's single-family houses beyond. To the east, there's single-family homes as well. To the south, there's single-family homes, and to the west, there's a vacant lot, which then goes down to the street, and as you can see, there's apartments beyond. Basically, it's a commercial use in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Is what's going on here. So it's a current laboratory. So we're looking to convert this into 4 2-bedroom apartments. Basically, rehab the existing building. I'll go briefly to I'll call this Exhibit 3. It's a color rendering of the front of the building. It's just a facsimile of what we're looking to do. Basically, substantial improvements to the exterior and interior of the building. Try to have an up-to-date look especially compared to what's there now. Lighting, windows, obviously the exterior would be completely redone with stucco, and a new landscape package as well to kind of dress up the building and make it more presentable. Especially compared to what's going on now. There'll be a bike rack in the back. The trash area will be in the rear of the building as well. Going to the site plan.
Chairman, excuse me, would you like the exhibits to be marked to be?
Are these, was the site plan submitted with the application?
It was.
Okay, we don't have to mark that.
Okay, thank you.
So this is just color rendering of 101. It's the exact same plan that was submitted to the board, it's just in color. As you can see, the building is existing. We're not proposing to demolish the building or change it in that way. Basically, we're going to redo the inside and the exterior of the building. There's an existing driveway off of North Second Avenue. It comes around the back. We'll have 4 parking stalls proposed along the rear. And on the far rear, there's going to be a canopy. There's steps that go down to a basement level. And the trash is going to be basically stacked along that back area as well as a bike rack also. So we'll have some improvements obviously to the exterior. We're actually reducing the impervious slightly compared to what's out there. As you can see, there's not a whole lot we're changing with the site, or we can really do site-wise, because it's almost entirely composed by the driveway and the building itself. Stormwater, we're not providing any stormwater. Again, we're not impacting or changing or increasing any drainage compared to what's out there today. Parking, there's 4 stalls provided, and that is what is required. There are a couple of waivers that we'll be requesting, walkways between entrances of the building and the parking areas. We are providing a walkway off the main walkway off the 2nd Avenue to a door that'll be on that north side of the building. And there's a walkway in the rear, but there's basically a door on the side right against the parking lot. So we're going to line that up with the striped area of the handicap parking. So there won't be a walk per se, so technically it's a waiver. Shade trees along the perimeter of the parking lot. There's no room basically to safely provide shade trees in that area without basically picking up the pavement and disturbing the pavement. And there's not enough room for them to grow in that area. We can provide 2 street trees along the front. I wouldn't recommend it only because the power lines run overhead right in that location. So if we do something, it's going to have to be something that doesn't grow very high. We can provide it, but I'll leave that to the board on what you would rather.
And right now, I think there's just small shrubs in front.
It's actually grass right along that front area between the sidewalk and the curb. It's grass.
Yeah, but against the building.
Up against the building, we have, yeah, there's some shrubs there now. They're not great. So we're going to be redoing all that and dressing that up substantially. But between the sidewalk and the curb, that's really what I'm talking about, whether we provide street trees there or not. I don't think it's a great location, only because of the power lines. If they weren't there, I'd say absolutely. But
How wide is that?
it's about 5 feet.
Okay,
Yeah, it's wide enough to put a tree in. You know, that's not really the issue. It's more having the power lines literally directly overhead. But I'll leave that to the purview of the board, whether you want those or not. And the last waiver is for green infrastructure strategies. Again, there's not a lot we can provide on the site. If we're coming in new and this was a blank site, that'd be something else, but we're really kind of limited on what we can actually physically do. The sidewalk does go into the planting beds that we have, so that would be 1, but we have to have 2, and I just can't meet the second one. So that would be the 3rd waiver. The other waivers that are indicated in the professionals review letters will be eliminated, so it's only those 3. With regard to review letters, CME's letter dated 8/7/25. I agree with all the comments in that letter. Only item 5 would be the only one that I have any kind of issue with, if you want to call it that. It's asking us to get waivers from the Soils Conservation District in the county. Soil Conservation District threshold is 5,000 square feet of disturbance. We have nowhere near that. So rather than going through the exercise of getting a waiver, I've asked that we just kind of have to do that because the site's barely over 5,000 square feet. So it's really unnecessary.
But you will get the letter of exemption from the Middlesex County.
Yeah, the county is actually electronically, it's kind of a much faster process where it may take 5 to 6 weeks to get a response from soils on something like this. And it's really just an exercise of futility. In the Environmental Commission letter, they recommend porous pavement for the driveway. The driveway exists, we're proposing to leave it as is, so we request to keep that. The walkways, though, we do have some proposed walkways, as I indicated, in the front and in the rear. That we can make a paver rather than the concrete that's proposed now, so we can get some porous pavers there and kind of at least help mitigate a little bit on the things that we're proposing on the site as opposed to what's existing. The rain barrels, we just don't have room for rain barrels in a safe location. The building, they request that it be cleaned. It's going to be completely gutted, so it'll be cleaned. So it'll be fine on that end. The commission on universal access, they asked for the ramp. There's a door in the rear, so they see it's just the ramp down to the stairs that go to the basement and up to the door that's proposed in the rear of the building. So that's the purpose of the ramp. And I have no issues with the rest of the letter. LRK letter of 8/7/25. We agreed to address all the items in the letter with the exception of the waivers that I indicated and the following items. Item 8.2. Some of these are really just discussion points. They asked that we make this a van accessible handicap stall, which means basically the striping area has to be wider, so we will provide that. 8.4. They were asking that we push the wheel stops out from the building further, which I understand the thought process behind that, but my fear is that it's a tight turnaround as it is. I don't want to push the cars further back into that area. So I'd rather put bollards up in front of the stalls. That'll keep them from hitting the building. So I think that's obviously the concern, is that those blocks sometimes move and you can wind up hitting the building. So we would put bollards in front of each one of those stalls so that you can't hit the building. The driveway apron, they requested that we drop the slope of that driveway apron. Can't really do that because the driveway to the unit to our east, the house to our east is actually 1.5 feet maybe off of our driveway, and they're connected. And obviously, if we drop that, we're now regrading and redoing the driveway, and we're redoing the sidewalk along the front because all that would have to drop as well. And I would point out that there is sidewalk along Wayside, along our frontage. That's where the sidewalk stops. There's no more sidewalk down this area second.
There is now. Sorry.
We'll get to public comment later.
You have a question?
No, yeah, I'm sorry, I got so I was on this site the other day. So you're saying that there's a block retaining wall, that is the property owners on the left?
I believe that's the property owners on the left.
So in other words, it looks like that's on its last legs as well. So if you were to underline it, it would.
Yeah.
So and there's a slatted vertical wooden fence that goes around the property. Is that technically this applicant's, or
I don't believe so. That the fence is off the property.
Okay.
So I don't believe it's theirs.
All right, it's falling down as well.
Yeah, it's not in great shape either. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not physically on the property. And 8.8, that just goes back to the street trees again that we already discussed. So I'll leave that to the purview of the board. And 8.12 is really regarding floor plans, which I'll let you like.
Are there any questions from the professionals or any comments? Because he did answer, some of what you were discussing.
I agree that the fence appears to be off the property, and that dry stack block wall concerns me, but it's not on the property. There's an extension to it. The lower ones are set in mortar and the upper ones are wobbly, but I walked in, I looked at it, I looked at the plan, and maybe they can work with the neighbor, but it seems like a hazard to me, but not much we can do.
No, I just, again, anything Any comments?
Yeah, just a couple comments from the memo on 8.2. I guess for the benefit of the board, can you walk us through how bike rack and trash is accessible and serviced when the parking space is occupied next to it?
Sure, so we have about 4 feet on that north side of the parking lot. So basically, we're showing a pad out there now. That door is going away. So I'll actually be able to shift those stalls up a little bit. So that last stall, I'm going to add that extra width to that last stall. So it'll gain a little extra room.
But you're also increasing the van accessible.
Correct, correct.
I'm not sure you can do both at the same time.
Well, I have to increase the ADA. You know, there's no waiver to that, so it has to be widened. So I'll pick up the 3 feet on this. It's roughly 4 feet, so I'll gain another foot on that far one.
On to, okay, so we addressed the accessible parking space, bike parking, bike pad rather, just needs to be resized. I think we'll deal with that when it's constructed, or we'll figure out how the size is located before a CO. The street trees, I agree with the street tree advisory committee. If there's opportunities to put street trees in, it's likely to a lower, smaller street tree if necessary, because they recommend it, so I trust that they can find the right species.
Yeah, I'll look at the species that they recommend. I don't know if they were aware that the power lines were there, so I'll have my landscape architect look at those trees and see if they're the appropriate ones or not.
I have a high degree of confidence that the shade tree advisory committee made the right comment there. So
Okay.
I'd like to see the 2 trees as well. Regarding the lighting, clarify that won't be greater than 3,300 Kelvin.
Yeah, we'll bring the temperature down.
Any signage?
There will be a sign. We're thinking maybe up on the dark top of the building. It'll be compliant. It's not going to be anything ostentatious. It's kind of like maybe a name of the building or something along those lines. We'll revise the architecturals to provide that to show that it's.
Okay, so it'll be a sign for the building, not an 8, 10 for fire department access. It'll be like a sign.
Yeah, it'll probably be a name of the building, you know, whatever is picked, and then obviously there'll be addresses above the doors.
Okay. I think we'll have to coordinate that with the redevelopment entity, because the redevelopment plans more or less silent on signage. We're trying to be flexible, but it was intended to be addressed in the redevelopment agreement, which it wasn't. So since this sign is new, we'll have to collaborate with the redevelopment agreement. It's a minor thing, but it's a technical step we have to take.
Okay.
Yeah, the 810 will have to be on a building pursuant to the fire department's request, and I have no issues with that, obviously. Everything else is related to the floor plans. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Start with Alan.
Am I correct? There's only one door for any of these apartments, so not two entrances or 2 exits?
There's 2 doors. So the front door feeds the front 2 units.
Yeah,
And then there'll be a side door, and that'll feed the other 2 units.
okay. But it's essentially, it's one door per.
2. 1. Yeah, there's basically you come into a foyer, and then there'll be a door for each apartment off the foyer.
To be clear, each apartment has only one way in and out?
Oh, all right.
I'm sorry?
Wait, so when you say 2 doors, each apartment is described? Sorry. So when you say 2 doors, each unit still has only one way in and out?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Is that perceived as
Hold on,
a
hold on,
safety
just-
hazard?
I'll let the architect
Yeah,
address
well, I
that.
was gonna say, I have a question too, but I think the
Yeah.
architect.
All right,
would be better able to
I'm not
answer.
qualified to answer this question.
Could we just wait to be called upon, because we have, people that are, so just everyone take a breath. So Alan, what was your follow-up question? You had
The answer.
Okay, and you had a question about what?
I'll wait for the architect.
Okay, and Lisa, you were next.
Yes, so you mentioned about green infrastructure. Does that include building materials?
No, so there's the sustainability and then there's green infrastructure. The green infrastructure really more addresses the exterior of the building and stormwater, where the sustainability is more in, you know, your windows, your efficiency of your HVAC and utilities. That'll still be complied with.
Are there any extra measures taken in the sustainability arena with regard to the building? I appreciate that you guys are not knocking this building down and you're just refurbishing the existing building, because that adds to the sustainability in this project.
Sure.
But are there any other sustainable initiatives being taken in the building of this building?
Yeah, the architect can answer as well, but so basically the window treatments are going to be energy efficient. All the appliances are going to be energy efficient. All the toilets and sinks and everything else, and showers, all will be basic water consumption reductions.
And I have one other question, if
Sure.
anybody else. Okay. So I know that this building was built in like 1940, and it's an older building. I'm not aware of the building's history in terms of renovating or if it's had anything done to it since it's been built. Is there a concern regarding air quality during the interior demo?
I'd have to let the architect handle it.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a kind of a small question, but something I always like to ask about. So we're talking about sustainability and green building practices and all that stuff. Is this intended to be all electric, or are there going to be gas lines and gas appliances? If you know the answer.
I don't know the answer. I'll let the architect.
I say it should be all electric, because we're gonna have to retrofit everything in 10, 15 years anyway. So like just, you know, to the extent possible, it should be all electric. I don't know what the existing situation is in terms of gas lines to the various parts of the building or anything, but you know, it's obviously cheaper if you're renovating and you don't have to build gas lines. It's cheaper to not do it and just have all electric where possible. So that's not in any standards or anything. It's just we're gonna have to deal with it anyway, so you might as well do it up front.
Yes.
Yeah, that exhibit, is that a rendering of the exterior?
The bottom one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an example of the types of material. The windows may be different and that kind of thing, but that's the general look of the building. It's gonna be a stucco type building.
Okay. Is the it's gonna be taken into consideration in terms of like, you know, just looking like the surrounding buildings? Because I understand that stuff was not exactly a material that's used in town.
Correct, but again, compared to what's there now, it's a substantial upgrade to what's there now. It's unattractive, let's say, right now.
Well, I mean, my understanding is that in terms of using stucco as an exterior material, there's permeability issues. It's just been my experience, so I don't know. If
as long as it's constructed properly, it's not an issue. But then there were problems with EFIS when you had people that maybe weren't the most experienced doing it. There were major issues with mold and so forth.
Sure.
If I could.
Go ahead.
So the location of this building is on North Second and Cleveland Avenue, right? Like around that area?
Yeah, by
Wayside.
Wayside. Yeah.
Why? Oh, okay.
Right by the,
Yeah, Wayside is over here. The apartments are over in this area.
Right.
And then Second's here.
Okay. Okay. And that area has a pretty diverse style of housing.
Yeah, along Wayside is definitely a lot newer stock of housing for sure.
Right.
And obviously, as you get further back in the neighborhood, you have more.
And we have like a brand new school in that area, and there are some commercial buildings in that area, so it wouldn't look wholly out of place, this building.
I don't believe so. Again, we're not talking about something that's ultra modern and really doesn't fit. We're trying to rehab the existing building. We're kind of stuck with working with what we have. But I think the architect came up with a nice design.
Will there be mixed materials on the exterior? Because in your rendering, it kind of looks like cement block and like siding, but you're saying the whole building is going to be stucco.
Or most likely the entire thing, most likely to be stuck.
Okay.
okay, any other, at this time, if anyone from the public has a question specific from the engineer and would like to, have address that this would be the time. If there's going to be, let's say, if you want to make comments at a later time, that doesn't preclude you, but this is, if you have a comment or a question at this point in time.
Guess I should use the mic. No,
There you go.
Oh, there's-
There's Mike.
thanks.
We'll share.
You're not Mike. Hi, my name is Lou Pitchinson. I reside at 200 Jackson Avenue.
Hi, sorry, can you just, I need to get your name and address. I know you just said it, but it's a little slower,
I'm
please.
sorry. Lou Pitchinson,
Sorry.
reside at 200 Jackson Avenue.
Luke, you said?
Lewis.
Lou Hendrickson?
L-E-W-I-S. Pitchinson, P-I-C-H-I-N-S-O-N.
Okay, and your
Residence
address?
is 200 Jackson Avenue.
And are you within a 200-foot zone?
I'm right across the street
So
from.
you gotta,
My questions were, and Pat, I don't know, it seems to me that I can ask questions about parking. Is this appropriate? for the
I would
engineer?
assume so, yes. Sure.
I'm curious, there's 4 units, eh?
Yes.
And what is the standard, I don't know the jargon, what is the standard factor for parking places per residential unit
The
normally?
ordinance is 1 per 2 for each unit.
And that ordinance has been amended by the,
That's the
Redevelopment plan?
redevelopment plan. Yes.
that's the redevelopment plan,
Yes.
not the ordinance. So we're going to have 4 units with 4 parking spaces on site. And having lived there ever since the Wayside development went in there, parking is really a problem. Okay, and when the labs went under, it sort of alleviated our problem. So what I'm saying is that there may have not been much ado about parking recently. There always has been, and it's one of the major problems is overflow parking from the.
Mr. Pitchinson, if right now, I just want to see if you have questions for what Mr. Murphy.
Well, I want to
testified.
establish the context of the question, and that is that I believe that there's a problem with parking as is, and that this will exacerbate the problem.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, my comments are evidenced by the cover of the redevelopment plan, which shows a van parked in front of your proposed development, and that's overflow parking from the other area. May I just show you that? So all I'm trying to establish is that there's overflow parking already. Where are the other cars? If there's four units, are we suggesting that there's only gonna be 4 cars in 4 2-bedroom units? So one. per
All
unit?
I'm suggesting is we're meeting the requirement.
Okay. Well, then my conclusion is that we're going to have problems there, and that the planning board should be taking that into account in some fashion or another. How many spaces will be fit on the street in front of the property?
2.
2, so that's 6. Okay. Again, my suggestion is, since a lot of that space is frequently taken up by overflow, I don't know what to say. I think it's a very difficult problem. You guys are obviously content with doing that, but it's going to be a problem that's going to come back to the borough of Highland Park.
Thank you.
To the engineer, please. Thank you,
Sorry.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thanks, Pat.
Are there any questions from online public? No. Okay, so I guess seeing none, free to sit down. Call your next witness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The next witness is our architect. Good evening.
Do you swear that testimony you're about to give this word is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, please.
My name is Naftali Gutz.
Can you spell it for me?
Naftoli Gut.
And can you briefly provide your credentials for the board?
Yes, I'm a licensed architect in New Jersey and several other states. I'm the principal of Gut Van LLC. It's a Lakewood-based architectural firm. I have testified in front of other boards. I've never testified here.
Okay, and are your licenses current?
Yes, they are.
Is Board of Septum is an expert?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Gutt, you've heard the
Questions?
questions before that have been presented, so perhaps you can enlighten the board and the public.
I'll just give a quick brief overview. Again, first floor is 3,513 square feet. Second floor is 1,410 square feet, and the basement is 983. The building height is 19 feet 4 inches. The building will be 5B construction, which is regular wood construction. It will be fully sprinkled, and that goes back to the question about the 2 egresses, right? It's a sprinkled building, so one, we did a full code review, and one egress into each unit is adequate. Plus, we have egress windows in the units. Okay, so the first floor has we have 3 units on the first floor. Each one has 2 bedrooms, the kitchen, living area, and home office, and a laundry. And each one is equipped with 2 bathrooms. They are type A bathrooms, as is required. The second floor is 1 unit, also 2 bedrooms, living space, kitchen, home area, office area, and laundry. And the basement is just going to be storage. Just a little.
Mr. Gutt, could you explain what a type A bathroom is?
It's handicapped as much as required by type A. It's a certain type of bathroom that's required for this type of units. So meaning it'll be equipped with banking if you ever someone needs to install grab bars. So it's spaced, 3-foot door, has enough clearance for a turnaround, and it'll be equipped with banking for grab bars.
Thank you.
I just want to address some of the comments from the letter. There was a comment about the stairs in the basement. That they go nowhere, which is correct, and they're going to be taken out. I mean, this stairwell goes up and goes down. The down will be eliminated. And you're going to exit the basement from this ramp through the stairs over here. There was a comment about the plans are not compatible with the rendering, which is also true. The rendering was kind of more of a concept, something that was trying to show the material, which is going to be stucco. This is looking at stucco and square lines, looking at a new fascia around the roof, looking at nice, beautiful black windows. Will not be this configuration. We'll figure it properly.
I don't think this photo was relied upon for this Murphy. So can we just mark, is this pre-marked as Exhibit 2?
I think they were submitted.
Yeah, they were submitted.
Yeah, I've got the pictures that were part of the set.
Another view.
So there's only other one that needed overview. Is only
That was also submitted.
both in the
Yes.
application.
So we're looking at different design stuccos. This also will be stucco with vertical lines, something of that sort. Then we have engineered wood accent. Needs just to give a little more contrast. And we're gonna have high efficiency, so it's over. We're gonna have LED lights, all the new fixtures, everything's got everything we know is gonna be high efficiency LED, high efficiency fixtures. All the window units, on certain window units will be coming out, will be replaced with P-TECH units or mini splits for every single unit will have its own thermostat and its own unit. The question regarding the hot water and the utility room. So this water room in the basement will be, where all the hot water units will be, again, will be high efficiency. There was a comment about this unlabeled room. This room right now is a dummy elevator. It will get eliminated. We will infill the floor and just be part of this open space. There's a comment in the review letter about this open space that's unlabeled. It's just gonna be storage and open area. I think that's all I have.
Any questions from our professionals, Bruce or Chris?
Just a couple. The applicant representative addressed a lot, most of the comments in my memo. Can you just clarify regarding whether it's regarding the condenser units, or will there be any exterior units on the ground or the roof mounted?
Yeah, we're still debating if we're going to protect units which won't need, or we use maybe splits for each unit. And if that's the case, there will be condensers along the right side of the building, you know, out of the walkway, between the walkway and the building.
On the right side of the building?
Big side.
If that's the case, do you anticipate, or what setback do you anticipate that there would be?
Between the units and the building?
Yes.
It will be pretty close to the building.
It can be wall mounted. It might constitute a variance, but I don't know since this information is new. But given that there's a large green space for the townhouse development next to it, it should have a impact on the surrounding neighborhood.
There's approximately, just from, I was just there today, there's about 3-4 feet between the wall and that vertical fencing, give or take. It would be difficult, you know, depending on how they're arranged, you know, you might have some difficulty getting around them to service different units, but other than that, you basically can't even see the building too well through the considerable number of trees along that side yard. So,
yeah, so according to the survey, the setback varies between 2.4 and 2.5 feet. And
I guess the fence is
like basically like a suitcase size, large suitcase size. So it would have a setback of about a foot. I would need to review the ordinance, see if a variance is required, but as I said, and I agree with Chairman, it would have minimal impact on the neighborhood, because we screen and buffer from view.
We could consider putting it on the roof. There is a parapet on the front portion.
One of the bedrooms in unit number 2, I could not tell because the drawings did not appear to be to scale, and I understand you're coming new to the project. That will have to be resized via at least, well, one of the bedrooms.
Sorry, right, yeah. It was off by a few people. We'll just say,
yeah. Okay, so we will be receiving revised plans prior to building.
Yeah, I believe it was discussed that it's a matter of several feet, and that would address it.
Okay. And obviously, I had a sketch plan. I had a sketch plan offering suggestions to kind of clean up the construction, which I think the contractor would love since the walls be lined up. It's just offered for consideration. You don't have to comment on it.
Mr. Kraus, did you have a question?
I was going to ask the architect, mini splits can be, the condenser unit can be mounted to the wall, correct? And they only stick out about a foot, 15 inches. I don't think they're going to be very large units for those, so that might be the easy one to get to the service and fly it, and each individual one will have their own. So
it'll look nicer than the units now.
that was all.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes.
I'm going to speak up. My only concern, given, and it was brought up, I think, with the site engineer, in that if you are living in the front part of the building and you park around the corner, you basically have to walk up the driveway to the entrance, right? There is no secondary entrance to the front apartments from the parking lot per se, other than walking up the driveway.
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, there is parking in front of the building as well, and, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify, there's no back way into the front apartments.
Well, yeah, one of the units has that extra door going into the bedroom, whatever that's for.
No, I just meant the front.
The front unit's not.
Okay. I'm sorry, questions? Alicia?
I have a question regarding mini splits. Is there one mini split per room in the unit?
Well, usually the way it's done is there is like, one condenser and then there'll be a few air handlers for each room.
For each room,
I think
okay.
that's the way what we want to do it.
And would they also be providing heat, or is the
Yeah,
heat?
of course.
Okay, so there's no, there won't be any ductwork running
No.
through. Okay, so it's all ductless,
It's
heat and air.
ductless, yeah.
Got it.
And then it's great controls for each room.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question about the doors again. Just trying to reconcile the first floor plan with the rendering here.
But don't bother. No, I know, there was back and forth, so you're wondering how this splits into 2 units, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's gonna get realized.
Okay.
This is the look, this is the look. The grand entrance, we'll break it up, there'll be room for a wall in between. It's just kind of like, hey, this is what we're looking, this is what we're after, but it will be revised to reflect properly the plans.
Any other questions? Alicia again?
Well, Chris.
Chris?
Actually, Chairman, to your comment about the rear access, the sketch that I provide actually, in a way, tries to resolve that issue such that all the units have rear access.
I'm sorry, what is that?
The sketch provided in my memo was a consideration that addresses your comment about providing rear access for all 4 units.
Okay.
But again, that's for applicant's consideration. I know when we were contemplating the concept plan while drafting the redevelopment plan, I had offered some ideas about having a common corridor from the front of the building. That way guests could enter the front of the building instead of walking down the driveway to figure out what the door is. But I would agree with that there's extremely limited space. Putting a common hallway would chew up a lot of square footage. Sure. Actually, there's a comment that Mr. Stanton primarily raised about whether it be gasoline service to the building. On the top, since you were talking about the ductless units, would there be any gas service or appliances?
I believe so. No, we want.
Yeah, getting it.
Yeah.
I asked the previous gentleman questions regarding the sustainability and any sustainable materials that are being used in the build out. Can you speak to that?
Well, yeah, again, all the appliances will be energy efficient. LED lights instead of what's there now. So that's a major upgrade. And also all the wall cavities now have little insulation, which is recycled insulation. We plan on keeping the brick facade and just putting the stuff over it, meaning essentially not wasting it. I think there's anything major besides that. Wash and dryer, efficient, all the fixtures will be up to date, efficient fixtures.
Is the building being constructed in a way that in the future could convert to solar?
I would think so, because it essentially could just be put on the roof, so I don't believe I don't believe the client wants to do it now, but there's no reason why it couldn't be done.
And my last question that I asked the gentleman that spoke before you was, is there a concern regarding air quality during the demo of the interior?
Well, it's going to be contained. Yeah, I don't see an issue with that. The footprint staying is essentially just the facade and interior.
But the interior is being gutted, correct?
Correct.
Is there a possibility that what is being demoed inside has maybe lead paint or asbestos?
Well, if there is, they'll have a asbestos removed.
And you just said it's gonna be,
Already had. Builder already had that taken care of and improved.
Okay, that's it
One
for
more
me.
question, Chris?
Not really a question, just a comment. I think what board members alluding to is that the borough is hypersensitive to demolition because we dealt with a large project on Cleveland Avenue and it was a nightmare. So I just want to make sure the applicants will notice that they need to take all the costs to protect themselves as well as the other projects. That's what the concern was mainly related to.
Adrian.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question about windows now. Do you anticipate any access to the roof from the second floor unit, whether for maintenance or for emergency or for someone just wants to be on the roof?
No, again, the ladder is, it's not high enough, it's not too high for a ladder, so. Again, unless we have some dense units, it's not doing on the roof like a hedge, so it's no access.
I have a question, just to be clear on the stucco, it is the synthetic stucco, right? Right. Is the rendering with the synthetic application, because this looks like almost a block
This
application.
looks like a block, it's
Right.
kind of like they put score lines and stuff, and
Right.
give it that kind of look, but it's just stucco.
But the synthetic stucco can replicate that.
Yeah, it's just foam with leaving spaces in between. That's it.
Alan?
Is the roof sloped so that the water goes into the drains?
I believe there's scuppers on the side, it's flat roof with a slight pitch, and then there's scuppers on the side of the building that let the water off. It's not sloped, it's a flat roof with,
So it's sloped a little bit so water will flow.
yeah, and so it's either sloped to center drain sometimes, or sometimes it's sloped to the perimeter, where it goes out of a small hole on the side of the building. I believe that's the case here.
Will your drain pipes be underground?
So,
Maybe we should ask the engineer. Right, you want to address that?
Regular gutters.
Chris, you have-
Yeah, just, I'm sorry, I think I missed it. So there will be scuppers on the roof?
I'm not sure if they're there now, if they're center drains.
There are gutters and leaders coming
The leaders off the side of the building.
off the far end, going down wayside,
Yeah.
away from North Second.
And in the parking, whatever system's there, I'm just gonna stay, we're not proposing any.
It looks like it's sloped, much like the rest, the property slopes considerably that way. It looks like if the roof is pitched, it goes that way. I don't, it can't tell because it's in disrepair if there's one or two leaders that drop from there. There is a gutter at this time.
Yeah, I think my comment was that if it's not on the sides of the building, meaning the right side with the narrow setback, or the left side where the driveway is, there seems to be opportunity to put like a planter, stormwater planter box, at least allow for slow release. So I'm a little concerned about stormwater runoff to the neighboring properties, to the houses, to the rear, even if the existing condition. I don't think a planter box is a terribly expensive. I think it is just a bunch of pressure treated wood and soil. Yeah, actually, would probably eliminate one of the variances from the pre-development plan.
So in the front, certainly anything we can get into the front planting beds is fine. The rear, though, the only problem with the rear is we have bike racks and basically where the trash cans are gonna go as well, so it's getting tight back there. We could direct the roof gutter towards the open space that's next to us rather than out the back.
Well, in that case, I'll defer to Mr. Koch, but I think any opportunity to slow release, and with regards to the rear access area, the bike rack, the ramp, stairway, awning, a lot of things are move around, so I think there's an opportunity to put something there, and it doesn't have to be very large.
My concern would be you're redirecting flow onto a property that never had flow. And then they'll be asking why that happened to them. So we want to use rain barrels to attenuate the runoff. I walked in the back, it seems like it's naturally all going down that draw.
It all goes that way now. Correct.
That way now, so I think if you want to do something to attenuate the flow, that would be appropriate, that would lessen the impact and put it out for a longer period of time, but I know it's just an open lot, but if it was my open lot, I'd say.
I get it, yeah.
There are trees there in between, it's very well wooded, I mean, if you had a swale there and it kind of, but there's not a lot of room to do this.
No.
Any questions from the public for the architect? Okay, any questions from the question online public? At this time, as usual, it's before we do a motion to, we want to kind of codify it, or exactly what we are asking to approve. You know, obviously there are certain waivers, but there were discussions about this might meet the waiver. So I was just wondering how we put this in a cogent kind of thing.
I mean, I guess make a motion to approve the application. However, as a condition of approval, I would recommend that we get updated plans within 30, 60 days to reflect all the, first off, the second floor and everything else that was discussed, and possibly recommend some sort of attenuated drainage system, just to meet concerns, just so we're not creating any trespassing on neighboring lots.
Trees.
And while we would incorporate all the comments previously made, and if we want, if the shade tree commissions, if they want trees, you'll have to find some trees.
Of manageable height.
Yeah, not
more, they could be not ornamental. They could be.
Something that is it's not going to create any further hazards. Yes.
May I suggest also an updated rendering that more closely resembles what the actual building is gonna look like, since the rendering that we're showing tonight is basically just to show us the material for the building, but something that actually like.
Is that required for site plan?
A rendering, not per se, and from a practical perspective, no one's going to see the revised rendering other than myself. I think we can address the issues of where fenestration is on elevations in the construction permit set. So I don't think renderings are necessary, unless you feel strongly about it. It's really up to the board to.
I mean, I see what this rendering looks like, and I trust the design aesthetic looks similar to what we're seeing tonight.
What you could do then, I would recommend the council, is that the construction plans be substantially similar to what was presented to the board.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to adopt the, you have something to say?
So make sure, did we open up to the public for questions and comments for the whole application?
Oh, are there any questions from the public for the entire application or comments this time?
Online.
Can you run online?
No.
Okay. So hearing that, we'll close the public portion of this hearing. And I'd like to, if there is one, a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
I was gonna say contingent upon all the stuff we talked about.
I'll parse it all together for a resolution. I know there's a lot to, but to incorporate all Mr. Cosenza's and Ms. Couch's comments and what I just discussed, and within 60 days.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Chen,
Yes.
Ms. Hadzi,
Yes.
Mr. Hale,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Lennart,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Stern Cardinal,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this time, I'll just take a short bathroom break and then get into the.
Can't burn yourself.
Here, I will
Yeah.
reconvene the August 14th planning board meeting with the public hearing on the Preliminary investigation of a condemnation area in need of redevelopment. Sunoco Block 2201, Lot 6, 7, 9, 10, 46, 47, and 48. Mr. Costanzo, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share the screen. Okay, good. It's sworn.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. The board is testimony as an expert.
Chairman, council, board members of the board, members of the public who are listening online, thank you for allowing me to do this, although you're directed by the council, so I don't think you had a choice to do this. So in a way, this is sort of a long-awaited action. What about the Sunoco station? So we're here for that. So as a general overview, as we typically do, my investigations I presented to the planning board, to get a high-level summary of the, I like to say, detailed report. And so I'm going to start with an overview of why we're doing this, the scope of the study, what it took for me to do this study, the context of that within the statute, and just generally some basic description of the study area. It's not just the Sunoco station. And then the meat and potatoes of the presentation, the actual evaluation, and the conclusion that the report takes, and the recommendations that I suggest that the planning board take relative to the recommendations you would have to the mayor and council. So generally speaking, the study area, again, is not just the Sunoco station. It's block 2201, lots 46 and 7. That is 138, 148 Raritan Avenue, the Sunoco station. Lots 47, 48, and 10. That's a separate property known as 10 to 14 South 2nd Avenue. That's the property with the BB Bake Food Mart and Al's Professional Cleaners. And lot 6 is 134 Raritan Avenue. It's a residential looking structure, as is lot 9, 130 Raritan Avenue. So these are 4 different properties of 7 lots. So generally speaking, over the past now 20+ years, the boroughs really try to seek ways to make the community a vital, safe place to live, work, and play. And part of that includes taking a proactive role in redevelopment planning pursuant to local redevelopment housing law, especially within the downtown area and other commercial areas such as Cleveland Avenue, Woodbridge, and Upper Meriden. Beginning in 2009, there was actually a mixed-use project contemplated for those 2 residential structures, 130, 134 Raritan Avenue. It received approval from this board. Again, this is 2009, but they never pursued the project. Beginning in 2012, there was an application for a 7-Eleven that was after, I believe, 10 meetings. It was eventually denied. Actually, my colleague Jim Constantine represented the objectors, and that's sort of what brought us here to this community. And in 2017, there was a larger mixed-use building considered for the same properties, 130, sorry, for 7-Eleven's for the Sunoco station. We're going back now to 130, 134 Raritan. A larger mixed-use building was considered with the concept of off-site parking. The reason for that was maybe we shouldn't rely on Park Place because that's where residential homes front line. We don't want all that traffic to go through. So the idea was obviously centered on track D. It has some centralized parking, but there's ways where other tracks could have their own parking. And obviously, as you know, the past few years, track A and track C are proceeding in their own direction. Meanwhile, track B has not for several reasons. So that concept of a larger mixed-use building on what we're calling track B was considered, and after we did the area study for the gun and boat, a year later that we did the redevelopment plan for tracks A through D, really centered on the concept of centralized parking, perhaps the plaza in North Third, which became South Third after public comment. And track B was sort of folded into the application because they already had the developer raring, ready to go. So we folded that concept into the plan, whereas everything else is more or less borough owned, and we're trying to get RFPs, get interest. We would like to get downtown moving. And so in 2022, we did do the RFP process. They selected redevelopers for tracks A and C. They're moving along. We expanded track C as a result of negotiations on a concept plan in 2023. And we amended the plan after expanding the designation and working further with the redeveloper for track C. And then just a few months ago, we did a condemnation area redevelopment study for the class of cleaners. So really an overview. There have been multiple applications, 3 at least, for several properties within this study, but they've never been pursued or even approved. And all these properties have had extended vacancies over years, which I'll describe later. There has been progress again at tracks A and C, but track B really hasn't been able to figure out the off-site parking. We're not going to let them, by virtue of a redevelopment agreement. You'll not let them proceed until they figure that out. But it's been years. And I think the community, including this board, members of council, members of the public, ourselves included, asked, there's been a lack of progress in Sunoco. Why not focus on Sunoco? What's the deal with that? So we hear you. Mayor and council authorized planning board to conduct this study, and as required by the local redevelopment housing law, in that resolution to authorize the study, you have to declare whether or not you may or may not use redevelopment. What that really means, since 2013, the state requires that when you do your resolution, if you're not going to use eminent domain, just call it non-condemnation area need redevelopment. If you may use it, you have to say up front, you may use it. We're going to call it condemnation area need redevelopment. That does not mean the borough is required to or has to. It's just that they may. In terms of the scope of study, we've done a few of these before, so I just have to reiterate. I tried to do a very detailed study, do inventory of all the records and site inspection, review records from planning and zoning, construction, health, fire, police, tax. I get a lot of help, so I appreciate all the staff assisting me on that. Much more helpful than other communities around the state. I also look at environmental reports, and sometimes I lean on the borough's other experts, such as the LSRP, to kind of make sense of what's the status of the environmental data, as well as our own GIS mapping, review tax maps, zoning ordinance, master plan. And then, of course, the fun part is doing site inspections. And you'll see some photos, and believe me, I had so much fun on this one. And then, obviously, prepare the ASP report. I think it's hopefully easy to read, even though it's very long. Try to write it in a way where we're trying to break it down to easier bites and understand why we're doing it, why it meets the criteria, and make clear what the recommendations are. As you know, the statute is pretty simple. It's really to guide the municipalities through the rehabilitation and redevelopment efforts. The advantages of doing that, obviously, it's more flexibility with zoning. You get site-specific concept plans and regulations. Really, you're being proactive about development. Whereas when you do typical site plan applications, whether it's planning or zoning, you're always reacting. So, can we have more trees? Can we do that? Oh, I'm not sure about the parking. But for redevelopment, you're working together as a public-private partnership. And there's also opportunities to require sustainability, green infrastructure, similar to what we saw on the last application. They were required to do it, and they're going to do it because we put it into our redevelopment plan. It's hard to do that through a zoning ordinance. And of course, you could designate a specific redeveloper to do a project. It could just be the landowner, and define their obligations, which could include contributions and community benefits. And redevelopment is obviously been successfully used throughout the state, including in Highland Park. These are just 2 examples I use often, and I think they're very well done. I'm proud that ever since 2016 we came in, we're seeing these happen, and it's slowly but surely coming along and really coming in place. The statute requires a very, very specific procedural sequence, and we are just sort of in the beginning of that step, even though there's been other planning related to Track B, the 2005 plan, and so on and so forth. But what we really are is in the middle of that efforts where we prepare the report, hold a public meeting, you're supposed to hear what I have to say in terms of why I think the property does or does not meet the criteria for redevelopment. You hear any from comments from the public, any objectors, and so on and so forth. What your role is to, whether you agree or disagree with the report, whether the property does or does not meet the area of redevelopment, and then make recommendations by resolution to the governing body. In terms of the redevelopment statute, there's 8 of them. Just briefly, A is about substandard living conditions or working conditions. B is abandoned properties at least 2 years. That was recently amended a few years ago to clarify 2 consecutive years. Public C is public or unimproved vacant land, but for 10 years or more. D is faulty range of design. E is ownership and title issues, not just that there's inefficiency or not fully productive, but it's as a result of ownership and title issues. F is really about 5 years of damage from fire and natural disasters. G, urban enterprise zones, which does not apply to park, and smart growth consistency. There's also section 3 criteria, which is really section 3 of the statute, which is the definition section. It literally is the definition of a redevelopment area, and that is one which may include properties not meeting the criteria, but the inclusion of which is found necessary with or without changing their condition for the effective redevelopment of the area. And that's important because in this study, I am using the section 3 criteria for 2 of the properties. And of course, the redevelopment handbook, now 3rd edition, says you can include these properties if they're essentially included in the destination. What's weird about that is, of course, you're doing a study in order to do a redevelopment plan, but if you're using that section 3 criteria, you have to have some sort of foresight of a redevelopment plan that hasn't existed yet. In this case, we actually benefit from multiple redevelopment plans affecting these properties. So it actually makes my job and your job a lot easier. And this is, I just want to put this slide together because I say this anyway, but I just want to reiterate, this is not a windshield study. I'm not in my car going, yeah, it meets it. And you can't rely on me saying that just reciting the statutes, it meets it because of that. It should be based on an objective analysis. And there's case law that supports that. And frankly, you just have to really rely on the plain meaning of the criteria. It shouldn't go into fits to try to see whether it meets the criteria, because the benefit of the redevelopment criteria, you just need to meet one of them to declare whether the property is in need of development. With going back to the 8th criteria, that's a smart growth consistency. I put in the report, that's something I wrote for Camden recently, which is actually a good primer of why, what is the section H, what does the criterion H mean in terms of smart growth consistency? Obviously, with regards to these statutory criteria, these are based on existing conditions that really to show that the property has obsolete design or there's some substandard condition, whereas smart growth is looking at the future. It's a little bit different. So planners like myself tend to get a little skittish about whether to use the section H, the criterion H in the redevelopment plans, especially when it comes to to condemnation preliminary reports. So you'll see that I did not rely on the criterion H for this study because this is a condemnation area. I want to rely on the physical features issues instead of forward thinking. So in terms of the existing conditions, it's outlined in white. I'm not sure you can see on the screen. Hopefully on the PDF or your printed copy, you'll see these are 7 lots altogether, less than 1 acre. So I'm talking a little bit tiny property in little old Highland Park. Varying ownership, 2 lots, lots 6 and 9 are the same owner. And then the Sunoco is one other owner, and then the BB Biggs property is another owner. So it's varying ownership. I didn't have a slide for this, but the report shows that the assessment value of the assessed improvement value is less than the land improvement value, which suggests that there's some inefficiency of the property, which is especially critical in a downtown area, but we're not using that as a reliance for this criterion.
I didn't understand that statement.
Sure. The assessed improvement value is less than the assessed land value, which suggests that the property is generally underutilized, especially in a downtown area. But that doesn't mean that it meets a certain criteria. I think years ago, planners used to, and as a result, case law, like, not touching that. But it just shows that there's an inefficiency of these properties, particularly in the downtown area.
The Sunoco station obviously is an active site on the state's environmental management system list. I recall one of the members of the public brought that up, like, what's the deal with that? Like, well, it's in their report, that's pending. Now we're here for that. Otherwise, this study area and much of the area in the downtown area, there's no wetlands, no flood hazard areas, and it's well served by utilities. Obviously, you can see on the left map, the existing land use map, it's a mix of uses. And even though they're all vacant, at the show that it's current use, vacant land is when there's no building, no parking lot. So technically not vacant, but the tenancies are vacant. And on the right side, you'll see that the study area is subject to 1, 2, 3, 4 different zoning designations, 2 of which are redevelopment plans. So it's a mixed bag in terms of land use as well as zoning, which is not ideal for redeveloping because you have to reconcile all that. So now the fun part. So this is the actual evaluation as to whether or not I believe that the properties, 4 properties meet the criteria. You'll see at the end of the report that it's my opinion that all 4 do meet at least one of the criteria. So I'm going to just go through just a high level of why I think each one of them are. We're going to start with Sunoco Station, block 2201, lot 746. The previous findings, it actually was already designated as an area needed development 20 years ago. And then it was put into the 2005 redevelopment plan. It was used at the gas station since before World War II. The current building with additions was built in 1954 with additions over the years. There's been no permit since 2011, which is a demolition permit. The gas station's obviously closed for almost 16 years, or if not more than 16 years. And as we discussed before, in 2012, can't believe it's already that long ago, there was consideration from 7-Eleven, but that was denied. And there's been some multiple calls for criminal mischiefs related to spray painting. Otherwise, not much happening there because it's vacant for 16 years. With regard to environmental contamination, so get ready for this. So I just want to give a high level. So the first report of contamination occurred in January 1990 and still remains contaminated to this day. So 35 plus years of contamination. So it started in 1990 when PSE&G noticed there was gas sitting in a manhole in the street, and I believe the plume was identified to affect the street as well as the property in question. 1992, a small waste oil UST was removed. They found impacted soils, but the geologists at the time said, no harm, no foul, no further action. But hey, we observed that there's groundwater remediation going on. They saw 11 wells at the time. A year later, the property owner wanted to remove the whole system, really upgrade it, and they found a crack in the rib. And when they removed the gas from the tank floated to the top of the water table. And then when they removed the tank, they found that it was leaking. So another report was filed with NGDP in 1993, obviously it's leaking. And over the course of several years, 94 to 2001, they did an active, well, I guess you can call it passive groundwater remediation program through attenuation. In 2012, actually, so going back to 10, by this time, 2010, the gas station's already closed. So in 1993, when the 3 tank system was removed, 2 new tanks were put in 2010, those 2 tanks were removed. There was soil contamination, but it was addressed. But they found that they were still needing to test for and address groundwater contamination. It was still ongoing at the time. In 2012, this is at the time of due diligence for the 7-Eleven facility. And I, based on the minutes and the resolutions and letters, many of which Alan Williams was the author of them, was asking, what's the status? When's the RAO coming? When's this being rectified? Because this board had a keen interest on how this is being addressed. Basically, what it came down to was it's going to be addressed. We're going to get a RAO, a remedial action outcome, but it never really occurred. 2014, a groundwater remedial action permit was issued, really based on we're going to continue to do natural attenuation. As if the prior 25 years didn't work, so we're going to keep doing natural attenuation. And the RAO, basically the outcome, the final deliverable is anticipated to be in sometime in 2022. So it's an 8-year program. Going in 2022, still groundwater attenuation, groundwater contamination, and in 2023, the RAP was extended to 2029. Basically, what this means after consulting with the LSRP is that there are conditions that suggest that the attenuation is not working and further intervention may be necessary. So this is a 35-year history of contamination at the site. So now I'm going to go into the actual site inspections. I'll try to run through these as high level as I can without skipping. So what we found with the exterior of the building is really in poor condition, peeling paint, there's some water damage, and actually it looks like vehicles damaged the building as well. We found that there was some water damage on the outside, water staining on a block wall. Obviously, the building's all boarded up, but when we went inside, we noticed doors, some doors and windows were broken. The glass was sort of on the ground on the inside of the building. On the interior is also poor condition, poor condition, water staining, water damage on the floors and wall, and some wood rot where there was wood, since it's mostly a block building. We found that the water was still running and leaking. When the maintenance person that helped us with the inspection, is myself and Scott Pressure, construction code official, he assisted me on the inspection. We found that the water was still leaking. That's the bottom left photo. They thought they had turned all the water off. This was like a second meter. They didn't even know about it. And then elsewhere in the building, the ceilings, I say ceilings, plural, above the toilet room, I'll call it, there's no sink and no finish materials, had collapsed and onto the toilet. This is a shed behind the gas station. This was actually a shed that was built in 1993. It went to the zoning board of adjustment for a site plan. This shed was built for really for the groundwater remediation effort they had a water stripping tower, a holding tank, and some other equipment to deal with the groundwater remediation project. And this was ongoing for about 8 years, 1994 to 2001, after its construction in 1993. Obviously, this building, this accessory structure, we call it shed, severe disrepair. The roofs caved in, open to the element, and there's plant growth going inside the building, and there was some insulation debris and whatnot all over the ground. Rear yard was all paved at one point, but debris is growing through. There's some leftover tires from, presumably from 16 years ago, still there. So that's a concern for mosquito breeding. And there's an abandoned vehicle that's stripped for parts. The parking lot in general is not non-conforming with zoning. It's in the front of the building. We do not allow that downtown. And it's not conforming to the zoning, the redevelopment plan, as well as just general best practices in the downtown area. And this, as we identified in the master plan, the community said this is a large gap. They use the word gap in the streetscape, a huge gap, 150 feet of nothing but asphalt and oversized driveway aprons. Obviously, this impacts aesthetics and discourages pedestrian activity and economic vitality, which is detrimental to the welfare of the community. With regards to the actual layout and design, there's very little definition to this parking lot. It's simply just a mass of pavement. There's no defined parking spaces. There's no drive aisles. Users could just do whatever they want and then spin around if they were to trespass on the site, which creates a dangerous conditions for people walking on the site. As to the accessible parking spaces, it's required to be 16 feet wide, van accessible. This does not meet that, and obviously the conditions are such that it is not accessible to get to the building, and so it's undersized and pavement disrepair. Simply, it's not accessible. In terms of landscape buffers, there's really no buffer between the building and the retaining wall, so you can just hit the building and damage the building. That looks like the retaining wall has already suffered some damage. And probably most critically, there is no buffer along the public sidewalk. That's the top right photo. Imagine walking through that parking lot, just like with the classic cleaners property and other properties that we studied. This condition is dangerous because motorists can go in and out of the parking lot without any, and the pedestrian has no protection whatsoever. And also there's this excess pavement on what was supposed to be a landscape buffer within South Second. That's the bottom left photo. That's supposed to be a landscape aisle that's paved over. So obviously an illegal parking space, and that damages the trees and does not allow for further growth. So this all just exacerbates the heat island effect. That tree won't grow any further. In fact, it'll probably die if not already. And so this shows that there's excessive pavement, and the condition will make the heat island effect even worse over time, and which will negatively affect all the neighboring properties as well. The oversized curbs. So there's not one, not two, not three, but there's 4 driveways for this property. along Raritan Avenue, there's 3 of them, and they all range from 22 to 38 feet, but typical driveway is typically 12 to 18 one way, 20 to 24 feet two way. And so the driveways occupy nearly 2/3 of the frontage, and the raised curve is less than 6 inches in between those driveways, so it's very shallow, giving it appearance that this is one giant 150-foot wide driveway, obviously extremely dangerous to the public. And on South Second, this is the right side, the apron is simply not done correctly. It's a monolithic pour and it's jutting into the street. And let's see, so all right, so the conditions of the property, generally in poor condition. It was just really indicative of the long-term vacancies of the property. So these conditions, deterioration, various depression, settlement, missing pavement altogether. These will contribute to ponding, freeze thaw, slip hazards in winter, mosquito in fall, and obviously pests. In terms of land coverage, we discussed this already at length. There's excessive land coverage. In terms of, if this lot was to be repaved in the front, there would not be sufficient space in order to construct a conforming parking lot. There's simply not enough depth, 18, 24 in a walkway. Simply not enough space to put a conforming parking lot. And the rear parking lot was intended for storage, so it really can't be reused for a rear parking for a public facility because it was designed for tandem parking of cars for storage or awaiting repair. If this became a new store, you won't get 16 parking spaces back there. You're going to get maybe 6. So it's an inefficient use of land and a high degree of excessive pavement relative to the number of parking spaces that could be provided legally. So it simply shows that the lack, and with the Alaska landscape islands and the lack of street trees and shade trees, means that this all contributes negatively to the heat island effect. In terms of obsolescence, did a little bit of narrative on that, and that is, so generally speaking, there's always going to be a need for gasoline service stations, no matter how hard we push for EV. There's always going to still be a need for gasoline service stations. And service stations really evolved over the years since its inception. It really began, like at this location, as a small roadside stop. And over the years, it's evolved to do tire changes and services, and even larger to like the giant Wawas or Buc-ee's, if you've been to one, like in Florence, South Carolina. So it's definitely transformed over the years, but in small downtowns like Highland Park, they can still be relevant if they have space for a store and other, EV parking or EV charging stations, but that's not possible here because of the issues I raised before, because there's not enough room to put a conforming parking lot. They're kind of stuck. So the 7-Eleven application actually alluded to the fact that, well, in order to even keep it a gas station, it needed to be redeveloped. So I think that says a lot about that particular application. So in the end, what this suggests is that these conditions do not lend itself to be used as a gas station today. So it just means that it's no longer useful today in its current condition and is functionally obsolete. So in summary, the substandard conditions in the building is conducive to unwholesome working conditions. Hits A. It's been vacant for more than 2 years. It's 16. Hits B. And obviously the obsolescence, faulty range of design hits D. So for those 3 criteria, and we had 1, I found 3 criteria that the board could rely on to suggest that the Sunoco station meets the criteria for combination area redevelopment. The other 3 to go a little bit faster, I promise. So this is block 2201, lots 47, 48, and 10, 10 to 14 South 2nd Avenue. This is the 58 Food Mart property, also includes the cleaners. So this property was not part of the any prior redevelopment activities. It's still zone CBD and PO, meaning it's split zone. So the left side of the property is actually in a zone where it only allows offices and single family dwellings, and yet it's a store with a front parking lot, obviously not conforming. So it's used as a strip center with multiple stores. I believe it was Hubbard's at first, and now, well, was EV-based Food Mart. Permits been taken out pretty regularly over the years, including permits where cars damaged storefronts on multiple occasions. So permits were taken out to repair storefronts. The BB-based Food Mart's been vacant for more than 7 years, and Alice Professional Cleaners more than 4 years. So collectively, that means the whole building and the property has been vacant for at least 2 years. So as you'll see, that hits B. In terms of the actual site inspections, again, the exterior is generally in fair to poor condition. There's some chipping paint. You got exposed wiring, and there's some sealant and caulking missing from the windows. So the building's not airtight or waterproof, so water infiltrates into the building. On the outside of the building, there's some missing downspouts, there's trash and debris everywhere. I didn't have the photo, but I remember someone actually came into Borough Hall a week or two ago and had a photo of an overflowing trash can. And I was going, yep, just give me a couple of weeks and I'll show it to you. I didn't put the photo in, but nothing's changed. The trash everywhere in the front of the building. In terms of the building, the roof structure, the eaves at the end of the property, the ends of the building are exhibiting wood rot, so wood and the water infiltration getting into the building, and then obviously it's subject to pests. And there's a large depression on the roof structure, which suggests that there might be water damage inside the building. Inside the building itself, is now starting with BB Biggs, it looked like the building was completely abandoned. There's still some food out there. There's still some water in storage, and there's obviously expired goods. And when I said this was fun, when I took a closer look at the top right photo, those are pest droppings. There's thousands of pest droppings. So I had to get rid of my shoes after this. Also in the kitchen area, there's some food waste still there, which is probably from 7 years ago and still there. And then obviously there's deterioration throughout, water damage, and so on and so forth. There's water infiltration in the refrigeration area, and there's some open pipes in the mechanical room. In Al's cleaners, Al's professional cleaner, I think it's cleaners, that's my fault. There's some water infiltration underneath the equipment, missing tiles, and just unfinished conditions. In the back of that building, there's a small shed, I think built for a boiler room. And for some reason, there's a downspout in the middle of the room. So obviously that CME block in the center photo, that's the old downspout in 1971, so they built around it. Not sure what that means for the insulation around it, but otherwise on the other side of the building, and the right side of the building, you'll see that there's corroded rust everywhere, insulation's falling, and the door that's supposed to be secure is open to the elements. I just walked right in with no key. I was given permission to trespass. So at the side and rear of the building, this is simply a fire hazard. Trash and debris everywhere. The retaining walls is a concern as well. They're deteriorating, and frankly, they're at a risk of failure, just horizontal and vertical displacement. And there's some ivy and plant growth growing into the retaining wall. What happened? That means is that as they grow and expand, and there's freeze thaw, that will just exacerbate that issue. So there's a concern of mine. So I'm not a structural engineer, but this is at a risk of failure. And there's at least 3 retaining walls on the property. Similar to the Sunoco station, has a non-conforming parking area at the front of the building. This actually has the proper depth, but it still lacks the lack of buffers between the parking area and the sidewalk. But what makes this worse in this case is that the parking lot is pretty much squared off. So you have parking spaces all the way to the end of the property. So that means when they try to back out, they have to use more distance and more maneuverability, being able to do almost a full K-turn to exit. But when you do that, the haphazard turn, you're more than likely to go into the public sidewalk and risk pedestrian strike. Obviously, that hasn't been an issue as of late because, again, it's been vacant for 7 years and it appears to be used as parking for the Reformed Church. Again, we have oversized curb cuts. These are about 25 feet wide, generally oversized, but taken together, it's about occupies, I believe I said it was over 2/3, nearly half of the frontage of the property. And again, this is inefficient use of land and design, which contributes to long walking distances, which is dangerous for pedestrians. And then so that obviously illogical driving movements just makes that matters worse. In terms of the conditions, it's in fair condition. The parking lot looked like it was repaved only a few years ago. But again, it's showing signs of deterioration, depression, settlement, ponding, et cetera, same conditions as a Sunoco station. There's no stormwater management, so water just simply sheet flows onto the public sidewalk. And there's a lot of pavement without opportunities for infiltration. So in summary, obviously we already talked about vacancy, it automatically hits that, easy, B. In terms of the analysis, my opinion, the building is substandard living, sorry, not living, working condition, unwholesome working conditions. And again, there's faulty arrangement design and other deteriorating conditions. So it meets A, B, and D. Now moving on to one of the houses, this is 134 Raritan Avenue, lot number 6, block 2201. In terms of the prior designation, it was already previously designated area need redevelopment in 2005, so we're simply doing it again 20 years later. This is part of the 2005 redevelopment plan, as well as what we call track B in the 2021, now amended 2024 redevelopment plan. There were concepts considered in 2009, as I mentioned before, as well as 2017, but they haven't not been able to secure off-site parking. So nothing's happened, kind of stagnant. It was last used as an office space, it looks like a house, and there's been no permits since 2012, and it's registered as a vacant property to 2021, so at least 2 years. Already, it hits criteria B because it's a commercial use. What we found through the records have been broken water pipes, missed tax payments and liens, and eventually they were redeemed and settled. But there's been a pattern of missed tax payments and liens, and as well as conditions on the property conducive to unwholesome working conditions. Exterior of the building is generally in disrepair. The porch is literally falling apart, and the railings are not secure. I almost fell. There's this trash and debris everywhere. The spindles and the railings are broken. The building looks like it was recently resided, but it's just lipstick on a pig because underneath it is deteriorating wood rot, and water infiltration. At the back of the building this is supposed to be a rear porch. Now see the roof caved in, and there's trash and debris everywhere. It might be better if I had a video of this because there was trash everywhere, as well as building materials. Inside the building, this is both the first and second floors. This is office space. It looks like a house still. There's peeling paint everywhere, ceiling, walls, and on the floor. Ceiling tiles caved in the kitchen, damage all over the kitchen, and the tub in the bathroom upstairs starts showing some deterioration, which suggests there might be water infiltration. In the basement, the basement windows weren't secure. They're also boarded up, but you could push it open pretty easily. And then the water heater and the equipment was abandoned, and the furnace, according to the construction code official, I was touching that pipe and he said, "Don't do that, that's asbestos." Okay, so I won't do that. Front, side, and rear yards is generally in disrepair, overgrown vegetation. The wood railing, rail blocks are in disrepair, so the railing is kind of loose. And so when I grabbed it to go upstairs, I almost fell. And the backyard is actually paved, but it's, everything's grown through it over the years. And there's an abandoned vehicle. I believe someone passed away, and the vehicle is still there. In terms of the faulty arrangement design, this was actually raised in the 2005 report, so I'm sort of reiterating, but going a little bit more detail about why it's a faulty arrangement design. So in the 2005 study, there was a number of conditions that we just discussed, from the steep slopes to high first floor, that's not conducive to commercial development in its current form. And that's because, and that generally means that it cannot really positively contribute to the downtown area due to the lack of buffers and the condition of the grade change. Reactivating commercial use will actually create a strain on the community because there's really limited access to rear, both in terms of access as well as parking. So there actually is no space to park or design a conforming parking lot on this lot alone. And then obviously access will go through Park Place, which will negatively impact the residents who live on that street as well as in the neighborhood. So in order to address that, you could build a driveway on Raritan, but that's not permitted. Plus, if you put a driveway on this property, you have to demolish the building because the lot's so narrow. So there really is no way to reactivate this building in its current form as commercial use. Plus, if there's a change of use, they'll have to upgrade it to ADA standards, which simply is not possible and cost prohibitive. This building, frankly, is better suited as a home, but that's not permitted in the redevelopment plan. So the current form of the property, the size and shape of the property, and the disposition of the improvements of the property really is a barrier to revitalization and suppresses economic vitality, and its obsolete layout is detrimental to welfare of the community. And you'll see, I'll incorporate by reference the same argument I'm making for this next lot, the last lot, lot number 6 next door. This is, actually, I think this is, sorry, the prior lot's 130, right? This is 134, right? I got my address wrong. I'll address that. Oh, sorry. Going too fast. This is the summary of the house we just did, 130 Bavaria. So as I indicated, the property has substandard conditions conducive to unwholesome working conditions. So criteria A, vacant for more than 2 years. Criteria B, pretty easy. Faulty arrangement design, obsolete layout, detrimental to community. D. Now, section 3 criteria mentioned before, this is actually similar to the classic cleaners argument. This is the hole in the donut because, as you know, with the tract B, lot 6 needs lot 9 in order to be redeveloped. And the same argument can be made for that property as well. Lot 9 needs lot 6 to redevelop by virtue of that redevelopment plan. Plus, it also is a hole in the donut of the 2005 redevelopment plan. And likely the hole in the donut if we were to pursue a different redevelopment plan that considers this study area as a new project. So in multiple ways, this meets the criteria with the intent and purpose of section 3 criteria. Also, this was raised at the last meeting too. They say, oh, well, if you said section 3, that means I'm not saying it meets A, B, D. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I want to make it clear on the record that it meets A, B, and D. But if for some reason you disagreed, you can rely on section 3. This is the last property, the house next door, next to the Mary restaurant. Again, this property was designated area need redevelopment in 2005, and as part of their 2005 redevelopment plan, and it again is part of the tract B at the 2021 and amended 2024 redevelopment plan. And similar comments as the other property lot with the other lot taken together was concepts were considered in 2009 and 2017 for mixed-use buildings, and again did not pursue and were unable to secure off-site parking. This building was last used as a commercial space with an apartment above it. That's important because the section B criteria of criterion B refers to only commercial spaces, has no indication in the statute that I can include a mixed use property or one that includes residential. Because there is residential use here, we cannot use criteria B. Just want to make that clear. There's been some calls for theft and burglary. Again, another burst water pipe. Actually, this is recent. I actually had to call DPW because the water department called, so we assisted on that. And there's a regular pattern of missed payments and tax liens, but they've been redeemed with the new property owner a few years ago. And the property was vacant in registered as vacant property in 2025. Another reason why we can't use criteria B, because in that statute, it has to be at least 2 consecutive years. Building exterior, similar to the other property, poor condition, lack of maintenance, which is really indicative of the long-term vacancies. The chipping paint, water damage, wood rot, just missing elements altogether, trash and debris under the porch, as well as block access to the 2 units. There's a downstairs unit, well, really it's the upper ground floor unit, and there's a second floor unit. In the back of the property, there's this, I guess you can call it a porch. There's some sheathing on the side, and it's completely rotted away. And let's see what else. It's peeling away. It's rotted. There's mold. There's railings are broken. The roof is damaged. And again, there's trash and debris blocks access to the back door. And when I look through the second floor window, there's no shingles. So, and there's at the time it was snow had fallen, so there's ponding of water on the roof. On the lower levels, that's a basement window. It's not fixed at all. So I pushed it and it swung around like a carousel. And obviously the rest of the building, the siding is in complete disrepair, wood rot and water infiltration. And it's my understanding, I don't believe I put this in the report, but the property owner said that one of these 2 properties, there was squatters. And you saw there was easy access to the building by just pushing the window open. So frankly, I'm not surprised. But when I did my inspection with Mr. Brescher, we did not see any squatters. On the inside of the building, there is apparently a water leak, which still hasn't been addressed. Well, the damage from the water leak hasn't been addressed. So obviously the floor is warped away and the ceiling tiles crashed into a residential refrigerator and a triple compartment sink. Again, this is a commercial space, kind of looks like a quasi home office. It's the strangest space I've been in. On the second floor unit, there was mold pretty much everywhere. Pretty disgusting. I might have lost a few years of my life in that building. In the basement, there's again more mold and water infiltration, basement trash, and it looked like it had been abandoned. And the top right was interesting. That's a toilet in the middle of the room. So if you want a toilet, a house with a toilet open to the room, you got one there. I think the bathroom was probably built to code, but the room probably not. Plus, it's also not clear whose space that is. Again, the first floor is its own key unit. The second floor is its own key unit. Two different tenancies. It's not clear how the basement is utilized in that regard. The front yard is actually not as bad as the other property, but the stone stairway is in disrepair. It's on an angle on chipping paint. When I first did my inspection, it was when it was snowing and sleeting, and I slipped, fell down the stairs. Still smarting on that. The rear yard area again was supposed to be, well, not supposed to be. It was paved, but you can't tell anymore because it's leaves and debris everywhere. And the same argument about faltering in design. This property cannot be reactivated on its own as a commercial use because it's simply too narrow. You can't put a conforming parking lot in the back. You have to access from the rear, which will negatively impact the neighbors on Park Place and neighboring streets. And to put a parking lot driveway from Meriden into the lot would mean demolishing the building. So it's not possible to reactivate the commercial use. Again, it would be better as a home, but it's not permitted. So the summary here is the same, well, similar as the other house, except for criteria B. I find that this has substandard conditions to unwholesome working conditions as well as living. I did not put that on the slide. So that meets criteria A, faulty design, obviously layout, other factors. D, and again, the same argument. Lot 9 needs lot 6 to be developed. It's the whole in the donut with each other. So you can rely on section 3 if for some reason you would disagree that criterion A or D do not apply. So that's the conclusion of the report. 4 separate properties. They all meet at least 2 of the criteria, if not the section 3 criteria. My recommendation is for the planning board to advise the mayor and council that this property does meet the criteria as a condemnation area in your development. Any questions?
Thank you for your report. Collegiate?
For the last property, 130 Rare Tech, when was the last time this property was occupied by a tenant? I know that you said it was like registered as vacant in 2025, but prior to that, do we know like when was the last time someone non-squatter was there?
That will be, I don't mean to be rude, that'd be almost impossible to tell, so I'm just relying on records. I saw police reports about the resident who lived in the apartment observing an incident in the street within the past couple of years. But there's a gap in records, obviously. There's not much of anything on this property. All I have is that the property is vacant as of February 2025. That doesn't mean it's only been vacant for, what, 6 months? It could be longer, but I can't assume that's 2 years or more.
Hey, Chris?
I'm sorry.
No, finish.
No, it is appalling, the condition of this property, and it is absolutely appalling to me that there would be people living in this property subject to the conditions of this property and actually paying someone rent. I know this is maybe not the appropriate venue, but I feel like I have to say this. As a borough, we have to do better by the residents that live here to make sure that people, our neighbors, are not living in these conditions and that the homes around a house like this are not subject to have to put up with the effects of living next to a home in this condition. I can't understand how this could happen. That I know that when a landlord leases an apartment to a tenant, they have to get a certificate of occupancy. And this isn't being followed up on. There's like a record of new tenants who have to register your property for rent. So there should be some checkpoints so that we have these things in place, and landlords should be fined for this. This is abhorrent. No one should be living like this. For the health department, I saw in your report didn't respond. I guess there were no calls to the health department about these conditions, but oftentimes people living in these conditions may not feel like they are in a position to report the landlord in these conditions. I'm just very saddened by seeing this. And this is I'm sorry that you had to experience this. I'm pretty sure your lungs were burning from breathing in that mold.
Yeah, I think I got sick afterwards, but it's also winter time. Just to comment on the health department. It's not that they didn't respond to calls, there may be records. I just did not receive them.
Okay.
The other questions?
Yeah, Chris, how does this study different from the last one you did? Or Alan did, or whoever? I mean, we've been through this before.
I don't think I'm prepared to go into detail about the exact differences, but that the properties that were in the 2005 study, which probably began in 2004, which is the Sunoco gas station and the 2 homes next to it, they were deemed area in need for a lot of the same reasons.
From what I heard, almost all the same.
Yes, and I think at the time, and it might apply to at least one of the houses, there was a discussion about the Sunoco station was using one of them, likely 134 Raritan, as basically a junkyard for vehicles. I think that's in the report, and I have the planning board resolution from the time discussing that at length. Obviously, that's irrelevant now because it's not there anymore, but you can see the remnants of it because it's broken pavement everywhere. And that one car that's still there was from the gentleman that passed away that recently.
Did you ever talk to Alan about that Sunoco application?
No.
I was there. Any other questions?
Yeah, hey, this is a minor thing, but on the cover here, on the various pictures you've shown, it has in the back of the Sunoco, I think kind of like if you're facing the Sunoco station, the right side behind that, where it goes behind the shopping plaza. On all the pictures here on like Google Earth and everything, that's full. There's like 15 cars back there. And you mentioned that there's one that's like all chopped up and everything, or the rest of them all gone, they're not there anymore? Okay.
Yeah, so the photo was a snip really from Google Maps.
Yeah.
I didn't check the precise date of the publication. It seems to imply it was recent. So I actually frankly surprised to see that, and part of it's intentional to keep it in there. So that your eagle eye noticing all the cars back there was, I'm glad you caught it. It's like one of those Mickey Mouse heads that can you find it? But obviously that's not the condition today. It's just a representative cover photo.
Gotcha.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yeah, just, first of all, I want to say thank you for risking your life for us. We really appreciate that.
Not as bad as
And I also appreciate the thoroughness of the report. To Phaedra, to your point, full stop, 100%, we ought to be making sure that this doesn't happen. I do want to point out that I think it has been vacant for a lot longer than 6 months and a lot longer than that because it's part of Track B. And when Track B was going through the process of getting their approvals for originally 16 units and then ultimately 32 units, they had moved everybody out. And that was, I think, 2017, 2018. So my guess is it's been abandoned since 2017 or 2018.
So there's no one's been living there.
Again, I don't want to say that for sure. I just want to say that as part of Track B, my guess is that they moved everybody out because they were expecting they were gonna build on that. So, and then just I wanted to point out, I know everybody has read this report in detail, but I have to read this, that on page 38 in the report, it says in 1977, an application for preliminary and final major site plan approval was granted by the planning board to eliminate from Raritan Avenue one of the worst eyesores in town. And that was written into the planning board report in 1977, along as they had to have the installation of holding tanks for unleaded gasoline required by the new cars at the time. So
Bruce was here. You were here for that, right?
Oh,
I don't know if you were here, Bruce, but in 1977, they were excited by this. It was going to get rid of this. I say it's about time. So thank you very much.
That was probably at a Grateful Dead concert. So I'd like to entertain them. How should we do this? It's all being brought up, even though there are different criteria for different lots. We are going to vote on the entire package. Is that correct? Is that the
I'll
proposal?
defer to council, but it sounds like there's no pushback on any of the criteria.
I recall I did one in the fall of 23, and I think we did individual lots. But if there's more controversy with that one, so if we're fine with just lumping them all together in one vote.
In my opinion, especially we have A, B, and D for 3 out of the 4 sections, and then the final building, we do have, I believe, A and D, I think, or whatever anyway, there's solid criteria for all 4 lots. So I would propose that we make let's say, a combined or blanket,
one vote to incorporate all 4
yeah,
properties.
consider.
Yeah, you can accept the findings of the report, but collectively and ultimately in the end, you're declaring or recommending that the entire study area be declared a condemnation area need redevelopment.
I'd like to hear a motion on that statement.
Should we open up the public for comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there seeing no public in the chambers, are there any public statements from the?
No, there's not.
Okay. All right, thank you for reminding me. Again, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept the findings of the report.
Second.
Second, Mr. Williams, I guess. All right, roll call.
Mr. Chin,
Yes.
Ms. Hazzy,
Yes.
Mr. Hale,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Ho,
Yes.
Mr. Lennart,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Hardenough,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
So we'll run through the rest. Any correspondence from zoning board officers not here? Any other matters? Any public comment out there for any other matters not pertaining? So I'd like to then, anybody have anything else to say at this time?
If I could just say real quick on.
That's no.
August 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. is an open house about 3rd Avenue. So it'll be a chance to come and see what some of the ideas are, what some of the.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the time?
It's August 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the community center. So it's a drop by, so you can come in anytime during that. But please come, you'll see some of the things going on with 3rd Avenue. So it's been exciting and moving forward.
Oh, correct.
So I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. All right. And thank you, everyone. We got a lot of work done.